Amongst the countless iconic and unforgettable villains who have shattered our hopes and posed the greatest threats to the protagonists of our favorite anime, it's hard not to recognize that Aizen Sosuke, the most manipulative mind in the Seirete and Bleach's most iconic antagonist, stands out from the crowd. He's not just a villain, he's an enigma, someone who captivates and terrifies in equal measure, willing to do anything to achieve his goals, and caring for absolutely no one, not even his closest subordinates. Today we're diving into what makes Aizen so unforgettable, breaking down his personality, his intelligence, his powers, and his role within the Bleach universe. How is it possible for this seemingly kind, responsible, and innocent captain of the 5th Division to hide his true intentions for so long? How did he manage to deceive everyone around him, even Shinigami who were way stronger, more experienced, or more intelligent? Today you will understand why Aizen isn't just a powerful antagonist. He is the ultimate puppet master. He is the perfect villain. The origin of the Gotei 13, the primary military branch of the Soul Society, is somewhat mysterious. Although its story is largely unknown, the organization was founded by Yamamoto Genryusai, who led the 13 divisions as their commander since its inception. Throughout the centuries, multiple Shinigami have lived and died for the sake of protecting the Soul Society and maintaining the balance between the world of the living and the spiritual world. During its development, the Gotei 13 transformed from a group of extraordinarily powerful and violent individuals into a well-organized military unit. The Seirete became not only the headquarters of the 13 divisions, but also the ideal location for the Shin-O Academy, where souls with spiritual power are trained to eventually join the Shinigami military forces. We can speculate that the path Aizen took was initially the same path every other Shinigami follows, though most of his past remains unknown. What we do know is that he was talented enough to rise through the ranks of the Gotei 13, becoming part of its 5th division under Captain Shinji Hirako. And here's where his true nature begins to be revealed. Aizen's personality is quite fascinating. He is a polite, seemingly kind and soft-spoken individual. The calm exterior creates an aura of invincibility around him. Unlike many other villains who openly display their ambitions and anger, Aizen's ambitions are hidden, simmering beneath the surface. What really sets him apart is his confidence. He's not just powerful, he's fully aware of that power and wields it with absolute authority. When he speaks, there's a captivating, almost hypnotic quality to his words. He's the kind of character who commands attention simply by being in the room. He is a charismatic leader, one who inspires loyalty, even in those who fear him. His enigmatic presence and the mystery surrounding his actions were always driven by his secret obsession, the creation of the Hogyoku, an orb composed of a substance capable of breaking the boundaries between Shinigami and Hollow, leading to a power that transcends both races. He was deeply invested in this research, sacrificing hundreds of souls during his experiments to achieve his goal, yet still being unsatisfied with the results. Hiding such complex and unethical efforts naturally created suspicion, catching the attention of Captain Shinji, who promoted Aizen to a lieutenant position to keep a closer watch on him. And in my opinion, you should definitely keep a closer watch in this channel by giving this video a like and subscribing. It is a very effective way of supporting my work and it's highly appreciated. Unfortunately for Shinji and several other high-ranking officials, one of Aizen's most dangerous traits is his intelligence. He is a mastermind, capable of planning scenarios far into the future. He sets traps, manipulates, and controls events from behind the scenes. His greatest talent lies in making others play their parts without even realizing it. Merely suspecting Aizen and keeping him close was not enough to stop his plans, which led to the Hollowification incident. Shinji, Hiyori, Kensei, and multiple other Shinigami suffered through the transformation process while Aizen managed to frame Kisuke Urahara, the captain of the 12th division at the time, and the only other person interested in the creation of the Hogyoku, as responsible for the tragedy involving the Hollowification experiments. Aizen doesn't need to intimidate or coerce most of the time. He simply orchestrates events in such a way that even his enemies end up doing exactly what he wants. This ability to deceive, to manipulate reality itself, is what makes him so frightening and so difficult to predict. Thanks to the efforts of Urahara, even after being exiled from the Soul Society, Shinji and the others were able to survive and acquire the powers of Hollows. Even more interestingly, Aizen wasn't intelligent enough to create a refined version of the Hogyoku like Urahara did, so the former captain of the 12th Division was also able to delay Aizen's plans by hiding his refined Hogyoku within Rukia's body. Aizen became the new captain of the 5th Division, amplifying his influence in the Gotei 13, but he was not able to execute his plans right away. Of course, Aizen's power isn't limited to his mind alone. 110 years after the Hollowification incident, the encounter between Ichigo and Rukia provided Aizen with the information he needed. He became suspicious of Rukia's Gagai after her prolonged stay in the human world. He realized something was preventing her from returning to the Soul Society, which eventually led him to suspect that Urahara had hidden the Hogyoku within her body. By the time Rukia was captured and brought back to the Soul Society for her execution, Aizen had deduced that the Hogyoku was likely inside her. To create chaos within the Seirei and exploit a vulnerability in the 13 divisions, Aizen's next move was to fake his own death as Ichigo invaded the Soul Society. This maneuver not only served to foster distrust and confusion, but also allowed Aizen to act from the shadows, manipulating events without drawing suspicion. To make his fake death believable, Aizen relied on his greatest weapon, his Zanpakuto Kyoka Suigetsu. I'll never forget the first time I saw Aizen showcase this weapon's power. It was a perfect extension of his personality, a Zanpakuto that embodies total hypnosis. With Kyoka Suigetsu, Aizen can manipulate the 5 senses of anyone who had contact with his Shikai, controlling their perception of reality itself. That means that he can create illusions so convincing that his enemies can't distinguish between what's real and what's not. In many ways, his Zanpakuto is his ultimate weapon because it amplifies his ability to deceive. Through Kyoka Suigetsu, Aizen makes his opponents doubt their senses, creating a state of constant paranoia. It's not just a weapon, it's a tool for psychological warfare, allowing Aizen to dominate his opponents without even lifting a finger. Ultimately, Kyoka Suigetsu isn't merely a weapon, it's the perfect representation of Aizen's manipulative, elusive nature. The devastating effects of the Zanpakuto are painfully evident in the psychological damage suffered by Momo Hinamori and the humiliating defeat endured by the captain of the 10th Division, Toshiro Hitsugaya. Very few weapons fit so well their wielders. Aizen, alongside his allies Gin and Tosen, pulled the strings of the entire Gotei 13. He was able to steal the Hogyoku hidden inside Rukia, revealing his true nature and escaping to Hueco Mundo, making the entire military force of the Seirei look like helpless children, incapable of understanding what was happening right under their noses. Aizen's ultimate goals are not immediately revealed, but the power of the Hogyoku allows him to create an army of Arankar, Hollows who have acquired the powers of a Shinigami. Using Las Noches as his base of operations, Aizen established a military unit of his own to challenge the Soul Society. His power as a leader reaches its peak with the Espada, the 10 strongest Arankar under his command and one of the most iconic groups of villains in anime history. To further develop the capabilities of the Hogyoku and destabilize Ichigo and the Soul Society as a whole, Aizen strategically decides to kidnap Orihime Inoue. Orihime possesses an incredibly unique ability known as Shunshin Rika, which allows her to reject events or actions, essentially healing or undoing things as if they never happened. It was initially speculated that Aizen knew her powers could be useful for his purpose. However, Orihime's role in his plot was merely as bait to lure Ichigo to Hueco Mundo. The conflicts resulting from Inoue's kidnapping led to some of the most iconic fights in the anime. Renji, Mayuri, and Ishida facing Zio Aporo, Ichigo's battle against Grimmjow, and then Ukiyoha, Kenpachi and Nell fighting Neutra. Of course, none of these conflicts meaningfully affected Aizen's plan. Dividing the forces of the Seirei and invading Karakura town with his Shinigami allies and the 3 strongest Espada was all part of his plan to bring the Hogyoku to its full potential and create the Oken, a key that would open his way to the royal palace. The Shinigami at least were prepared for the battle, or so they thought, bringing all of their available power to the city. They had the assistance of the Vizard, the competence of Kisuke Urahara and the Shinigami Research and Development Institute, which created an empty replica of Karakura Town, allowing the Shinigami to fight unrestrained while protecting the real city. It's important to understand that the battleground for this confrontation was not chosen at random. Karakura Town is actually a concentrated spirit zone, the location in the human world with the highest concentration of spiritual beings. This spiritual energy of this place would serve as the perfect catalyst for the full development of the Hogyoku and the creation of the King's Key. All the pieces were on the board, and Aizen had the perfect strategy for the endgame. As the confrontation in the town begins, an array of epic battles and displays of power unfolds. The Espada and their Fracción are incredibly strong, truly pushing the Shinigami to their limits. Halibel faces Toshiro, Baragan clashes with Soifon, and Stark and Lilinet contend with Jushiro and Shunsui. Not to mention, of course, the battle between Tosen, transformed by the powers of the Hogyoku, and Komamura alongside Hisagi. These fights reveal definitively that Aizen's allies are nothing more than pawns in his game. When Ichigo finally arrives for the battle in Karakura Town, the shocking truth about Aizen's powers becomes evident. Even though Ichigo is not under the effect of Kyoka Suigetsu, he stands no chance. Aizen's simply stronger. To protect Ichigo and give him any possible chance, the remaining Shinigami and Vizards decide to fight Aizen all at once. The result of this attempt is one of the most impressive beatdowns imaginable. Aizen's abilities are beyond anyone's expectations. Kyoka Suigetsu manipulates the senses of everyone in the battlefield except for Ichigo. They never had a chance of defeating him. He was playing with them the entire time. And Ichigo was the only one who could actually see what was happening. Very few villains can be both terrifying and charismatic in the way Aizen is. With a calm smile, he manipulates and emotionally destabilizes everyone who stands against him. Before breaking their bodies, he shatters their spirits and minds, making him all the more frightening. At this stage, the only real threat to Aizen is Commander Yamamoto, perhaps the one individual capable of killing him even under Kyoka Suigetsu's perfect hypnosis. Recognizing he couldn't afford to underestimate the commander's flames, he brings out another ace up his sleeve, Wonderwise, an Arankar created to solely seal away the flames of Ryujin Jaka. Even Yamamoto Shinjakuni, with the immense power of Hado number 96, is unable to harm Aizen. With the Shinigami forces defeated, the Hogyoku, now embedded in Aizen's chest, begins to reach its full potential, transforming Aizen into a being capable of transcending the existence of a Shinigami. Ichigo learns that Aizen has known about his existence since birth, and even played a role in the development of his powers. Aizen viewed Ichigo as a research subject, but before he can fully reveal the truth about Ichigo's origin, Isshin, Ichigo's father, joins the battle. It is also revealed that the true power of the Hogyoku isn't just to remove the boundaries between Shinigami and Hollow, but to capture and materialize the desires of the hearts around it. Now that the Hogyoku has begun to understand Aizen's heart, he can finally ascend into a godlike entity. The arrival of Urahara and Yoruichi doesn't shift the battle's course significantly, as Aizen has grown far too powerful for them to contend with. However, Urahara notices that Aizen has become less cautious in battle since he didn't dodge Urahara's Kidos, but rather just willingly faced the attacks. Aizen's powers were fueling an overconfident attitude that turned him into an even more arrogant being. This superiority complex ultimately lays the foundation for his downfall. After defeating Urahara, Yoruichi, and Isshin, Aizen and Gin use the Senkaimon to travel to the real Karakura town, where Aizen plans to achieve his final goal, to use 100,000 souls and the spiritual energy of Karakura to create the Oken and open the passage to the royal palace. Once he replaces the Soul King, Aizen intends to reshape the world according to his own will. To save his friends, his sisters, and his town, Ichigo pursues Aizen. With the help of his father and the time distortion in the Dangai, he manages to train for 3 months and master the final Getsuga Tensho. Before the final confrontation between Ichigo and Aizen, one of the series' greatest plot twists unfolds, when Gin attempts to defeat Aizen and retrieve the Hogyoku with a surprise attack. By then, however, it's impossible. Aizen quickly ends Gin's life. Having attained such immense power, Aizen could no longer conceive any possibility of defeat, genuinely believing he had become a god. When Ichigo arrives in the real Karakura town and confronts him, Aizen is completely unable to comprehend how a human could resist his powers and even fight back. As a final effort, Ichigo unleashes the final Getsuga Tensho, dealing severe damage to Aizen and giving Urahara the chance to finally seal him. Facing defeat, Aizen reveals a deeper, more philosophical dimension to his ambitions, angrily questioning Urahara about why a man of his intellect would allow himself to be controlled by that thing, referring to the Soul King. Far from being merely a power-hungry, arrogant figure with no moral compass, Aizen possesses a complex understanding of society and existence itself. His resentment is genuine, driving him to do whatever it takes to change what he considers a pathetic, unfair reality. As a consequence of his defeat, Aizen is judged by the Central 46 and found guilty of high treason, murder, and other crimes. He is sentenced to 20,000 years in the Muken, the 8th and lowest level of the underground prison. Reduced to a mere convict after his failure, he's left to watch the days go by. In my opinion, the ultimate proof of Aizen's greatness is his role in the 1,000-year blood war against the Quincy. After hitting his lowest point and being imprisoned, Aizen has very few appearances during the war, yet each one of them is iconic. During his first appearance, for instance, I couldn't help but smile at his confidence and presence as he faced the Quincy King. Their brief dialogue highlights Aizen's intelligence, authority, and power. Not only does he distort the perception of time to interfere with the Quincy's plan, but he also understands his true intentions right away. The King of the Quincy has to attempt to recruit Aizen in his war against the Shinigami, as Aizen is too great of a threat to leave unchecked. Killing him would be nearly impossible due to his fusion with the Hogyoku. Aizen not only rejects the Quincy King's offer, but also chooses to help Ichigo and the Shinigami in the war. He rejects the Quincy philosophy of merging all three planes of existence and eliminating death and the fear that accompanies it. Fighting alongside Ichigo, Aizen has one of the arc's most emblematic moments when he casts Hado number 99, Goryu Tenmetsu. Though the 1,000-year Blood War arc doesn't focus on Aizen, he still manages to be part of some of the most memorable moments in the conflict. Is Aizen truly the greatest villain anime has ever seen? The answer to this question is certainly personal. He's undeniably one of the most iconic, and for me, he's at the top of the list. Where is he on your list? Do you think he's overrated? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoy analysis like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video. There's another video on your screen right now that I'm sure you will like, so go check it out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.